It starts subtly, a sense of disconnection, fatigue you can't sleep off, a voice inside whispering, "This isn't working anymore." You move through the day, doing the things you've always done. But something has changed. The colors feel dull, the conversations feel hollow, and the person in the mirror, familiar but distant. You begin to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why does everything feel like it's coming apart? But what if you're not falling apart? What if you're waking up? Most people never get to this point. They push the feeling down. They drown it in work, in distractions, in routine. They learn to smile over the ache and call it strength. They cling to a version of life that's quietly killing them, too afraid to question the script, but not you. You're still here, listening, leaning in. That alone sets you apart, because something inside you suspects that this discomfort, this unraveling, isn't the end. It's the beginning, a beginning disguised as a breakdown. What feels like collapse is often the collapse of the false self. The roles you've played, the expectations you've carried, the person you've performed as for years. And when that false structure starts to crumble, yes, it's terrifying, but it's also sacred. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look there. That strength is surfacing now, even if you can't see it clearly yet." This is a rare crossroads, a quiet awakening most people are too afraid to face. But you're here. That means something. You're not broken, you're becoming conscious, and yes, that comes with pain. That comes with disorientation. But it also comes with clarity, rebirth, and truth. So before we go further, pause. Let this land. You are not the only one who feels this way. You are not losing your mind. You're reclaiming it. You are not falling apart. You're waking up. And if you can hold on through the fog, what's waiting on the other side will change everything. Awakening rarely looks like what we imagine. It doesn't announce itself with clarity, confidence, or peace. No, awakening comes as a storm, as confusion that clogs your thoughts, as exhaustion that seeps into your bones, as a slow detachment from everything that once felt solid. And it often begins with a single, disorienting question. Who am I? Really? You start pulling away from things you used to chase. The career you once idolized now feels meaningless. The relationships you poured yourself into suddenly feel heavy. Even your daily routines, the ones that structured your identity, start to feel like cages. On the outside, everything might look the same. But inside, something is cracking. Most people assume this feeling of collapse is a sign they're broken, that they need to fix something. Force themselves back into old rhythms, snap out of it. But what if this collapse isn't dysfunction at all? What if it's evolution? Picture a seed buried in the soil. In order to grow, it has to break open. From the outside, it looks like destruction. But from the inside, it's the beginning of life. That's you. You are breaking open, not down. The fog you feel, this loss of orientation, is the fog before sunrise. Thick, blinding, disarming, but temporary. The sun is still moving. Light is still coming. At the soul level, transformation is violent in its quiet. You wake up one day and realize that the life you built was shaped more by who the world told you to be than by who you actually are. That realization doesn't slip in gently. It shatters. But behind the shattering is space. Behind the fog is clarity. Behind the fog is clarity. Behind the unraveling is truth. This isn't failure, it's emergence. You aren't fading. You're not meant to. Go back to who you were. You've already outgrown that skin. So if it all feels like too much right now, too heavy, too strange, good, you're exactly where transformation begins. Hold your center. Let yourself break open. Because this, right here, is your becoming. Most people will do anything to avoid this kind of pain. The second discomfort rises, they run, not literally, but emotionally. They scroll, they drink, they binge. They immerse themselves in endless noise. Another video, another deadline, another device. Anything that keeps them from having to feel too much. Because to feel is to face. And to face is to change. But the Stoic does something different. The Stoic leans in where most seek the exit. The Stoic seeks understanding. They don't escape the storm, they sit in the center of it. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand what the pain contains. Knowledge, self-awareness, and the potential for true power. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, ruler of a vast world caught in war and plague, wrote his thoughts, not to impress, not to publish, but to survive. Every day, under pressure, he returned to his journal. To himself, he refused to abandon that quiet space where truth lives. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's the difference. Most people try to change the outside. The Stoic changes. Within, most people search for quick relief. The Stoic searches for deeper understanding. Numbing is easy, but it's also temporary. It's a cycle that promises peace and delivers escape. The Stoic knows that distraction delays growth, and what you delay long enough eventually becomes who you are. So when the fog rolls in, when everything hurts, when the questions feel too big and the silence too loud, lean in. Ask yourself, what is this pain showing me? What illusion is falling away? What part of my old self is being stripped so that something truer can rise? Because pretending nothing is wrong robs you of the very wisdom you were born to extract from this moment. Most people numb, but you're not most people. You are still here, still honest, still steady. And that means you're already becoming who most are too afraid to meet. There comes a moment when the life you built, the one that once felt right, starts to feel off. It's subtle at first, a lingering sense of restlessness, a quiet ache after conversations that used to energize you, a growing disconnection from routines that once gave you structure. You look around and nothing is wrong, yet nothing feels right. That's not failure, that's growth. What you're feeling isn't collapse, it's contraction, the squeeze. Before the stretch, the silent sign that your inner world is expanding beyond the shell of the life you created when you were someone else. You're not lazy for not caring about the same things. You're not broken for needing space from relationships. You're not ungrateful for wanting more than survival. You're outgrowing the version of life that matched who you used to be. And as you evolve, your environment won't always evolve with you. It's like wearing clothes that once fit perfectly, tailored to your identity at the time. But now, they pinch in places. They restrict you. They're not wrong, they're just no longer you. This misalignment manifests in all forms: a career that pays well but empties your spirit, a relationship that doesn't feel unsafe but no longer feels alive, a routine that keeps you productive but not present, and most people ignore. These signs, they double down on comfort. They convince themselves they should be grateful. You're here because something deeper won't let you settle. Prompt. Take 5 minutes and ask yourself, what part of my life feels off, and what version of me built it? Was it built by someone desperate to please? Someone trying to prove their worth? Someone surviving? If so, release the guilt. That older version did what they had to do. They got you this far. But now, it's time for something new. What's falling apart isn't your life, it's the structure around your former self. Let it fall, and let space be made for what fits now. The next version of you, now, not just from sadness, but from beauty. A song hits you differently. A stranger's kindness moves you. The silence at night feels louder than it used to. And maybe you've started to wonder, am I too sensitive? Am I breaking down? But this isn't fragility. This is awakening. You're not becoming weaker. You're becoming more alive. When you numb your pain, you numb your joy. When you shut down your anger, you shut down your passion. Emotional depth isn't a liability. It's a sign your defenses are lowering, your awareness is rising, and your heart is waking up after years of sleep. Most people coast through life emotionally muted. They feel what they're allowed to feel, just enough to function, never enough to transform. But when you're waking up, you feel everything, not because you're weak, but because you're healing. You're pulling emotion up from the basement of your being, letting it rise through the body and into the light. This is power wrapped in tenderness. Epictetus wrote, "Every habit and faculty is preserved and increased by corresponding actions." In other words, feeling deeply, when directed with wisdom, strengthens you. When you observe your emotions, instead of drowning in them, they become tools of clarity, not chaos. Anger shows where your boundaries need reinforcing. Sadness highlights what matters most to you. Awe reveals the presence of meaning. You don't suppress these waves. You ride them with awareness. Daily practice. Each evening, Take 5 minutes, no distractions. Ask yourself, what did I feel most strongly today? Why? Then ask, what was that feeling trying to show me? You'll notice patterns. You'll find pain points that are actually signposts. You'll sharpen your inner knowing. So if you've been told you're too emotional, too sensitive, too tender, good, that means you're paying attention. You're not falling apart, you're tuning in. And in a world that's dying of numbness, your ability to feel is not just sacred, it's revolutionary. There's a quiet moment in every awakening where the ground starts to shift, not physically, but philosophically. What you once believed with certainty now feels questionable. The rules you followed, the definitions of success you chased, the labels you wore with pride, one by one. They stop making sense, and at first, it's terrifying. You were taught to see doubt as danger. You were told that questioning is a threat to stability, that the point of life is to figure it out and stick to it. But what if this unraveling isn't a breakdown, but a breakthrough? Most people walk through life on autopilot. They inherit beliefs from parents, peers, society, never stopping to ask, do I actually believe this? Or was I just taught to accept it? And some go a lifetime without ever asking that question. But awakening requires it, because before you can rebuild truth, you have to burn the lie. Imagine a mirror that's slightly distorted. You've looked in it your entire life. You've accepted the image it reflects as you. Now, that mirror has shattered. And in those sharp, surprising shards, you see something else entirely, something clearer, more honest, more you than ever before. That's what's happening now. You're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself for the first time. Yes, it's disorienting. Yes, it's lonely at times. But doubt is not the enemy. Blind certainty is. The Stoics didn't fear being wrong. They feared being unaware. They welcomed introspection. They asked, what if the obstacle is the way? What am I clinging to that no longer serves who I'm becoming? That's not weakness. That's wisdom. So if you feel like you're floating in uncertainty, don't rush to anchor yourself in something familiar. Stay with the questions. Let them work on you. Let the false beliefs fall apart. You are not broken for doubting. You're becoming conscious. And sometimes, the deepest truth doesn't arrive as an answer. It arrives as a better question. Here's what no one tells you about collapse. It's rarely you that's breaking. What's breaking is the illusion, the false roles, the societal masks, the expectations you molded yourself to fit. And when those illusions crack, it feels like you're cracking, because they've been wrapped so tightly around your identity. You forgot they weren't you to begin with. But let's be clear, your job title is not you. Your relationship status is not you. Your resilience in chaos is not you. These are roles you've played, costumes you've worn, survival tools you picked up because at one point they served you, but now they've become too small. Growth demands truth, and truth demands that false identities collapse in on themselves. It's why people confuse awakening with self-destruction. The pain is real. The grief is heavy. But it's not grief for the self. It's grief for the version of you that was never really yours. As Seneca wrote, you act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. We fear death, of ego, of identity, of certainty, yet we yearn for something timeless to emerge from it. The self you fear losing isn't the real you, the self that watches the collapse in stillness, that endures no matter how loud the ruin, that is you, and that self remains untouched. Calm, eternal. So yes, let the expectations crumble, let the labels peel away, let the polished, curated image shatter. There's a deeper truth underneath all of it, and it's not loud or performative. It doesn't compete. It doesn't need to, because once illusions die, authenticity is all that's left. This isn't the end, this is the unmasking, the sacred undoing. So if everything's falling apart, it's okay. Let it. You're not what's breaking, you're what survives the break. Awakening isn't always graceful. It can feel like being wide awake in an unfamiliar world. Your old habits don't soothe you anymore. Your identity no longer fits, and your emotions swing between clarity and chaos. In seasons like this, what you need more than anything is grounding. Not control, not rigid schedules, but anchors. Simple practices that connect you to your inner stability while everything else transforms. Here are 3 tools to help you stay centered, focused, and open while waking up. 1. Morning journal prompt. Who am I beneath what I do? Before the world gets loud, give yourself 5 to 10 minutes each morning to ask this question. Who are you beyond your job title, your achievements, your roles? Write freely. Let the deeper voice rise, the one that gets drowned out by to-do lists and expectations. The Stoics' new morning reflection wasn't luxury, it was survival. Marcus Aurelius began his days reminding himself to stay inwardly composed in a chaotic empire. You can do the same. 2. Digital plus emotional detox. Blocks carve out 1 hour a day, with no screens, no scrolling, no input, not even music. Let your nervous system breathe. Be radically inaccessible. For once, be fully available to yourself. And as for emotional detox, identify someone or something that triggers you into performance. Then step back just for a while. Awakening needs space, not stimulation. Create pockets of silence to remember who you are beneath the noise. 3. Nature. Walks as moving meditation. You don't need a ritual cave or incense. Just walk. No destination. Just your breath, your feet meeting the earth, and your thoughts unraveling naturally. Let this be your physical reminder. Even when the mind is busy, your body can still be present. The Stoics returned to nature again and again. For perspective, humility, and peace, so do the same. Slow your pace, watch the leaves, breathe with the wind. Let nature remind you, change can be messy and still beautiful. You don't need complicated systems, just presence, just practice. Because awakening is not a place you reach, it's who you. Return to dot again and again, anchor by anchor, breath by breath. Because when you're deep in the work, when your heart is raw, your mind is noisy, and your spirit feels stretched thin, it's easy to forget just how far you've come. But look closer. You've lived through silent battles no one saw. Kept going on days when getting out of bed felt like a triumph. Carried pain through your smile. Endured disappointments, disconnections, betrayals, without losing your humanity. And by the way, that makes you rare. In a world where most people numb, flee, or pretend, you stayed. In your discomfort, in your confusion, you didn't run, you didn't fold, you stayed awake. That's not weakness, that's not failure, that's power. We tend to equate strength with loud resilience, grinding, pushing, never breaking. But real strength is quiet. It's the courage to sit with emotions you don't yet understand. To let the pain carve you deeper, not close you tighter. You've done that. Maybe not perfectly, but consistently. Most people turn away from the fire. You walked through it, most silence the ache. You listen to it, most distract themselves until the feeling fades. You stayed until it taught you something. And whether you realize it or not, that's growth. Even now, in all your exhaustion and doubt, there is evidence that awakening is working its way through you. The way you pause before reacting, the truths you now question, the things you're finally releasing, the peace you're beginning to prioritize. These are quiet revolutions, internal ones, the kind that leave no scars on the body but deeply change the soul. So if you're still measuring yourself against an old version of you, based on who was performing or pretending, you're looking in the wrong place. Because who you are now more open, more honest, more present. That self wasn't built in comfort. It was forged in the ache you stayed with. You've already survived what would break the many. Don't forget that. Don't downplay it. Because if you've come this far, you're not just waking up, you're rising. This wasn't a breakdown. It was a breakthrough in disguise. Everything you've walked through, the confusion, the loss, the deep emotional waves that made you question whether you were losing yourself, was not the end of your path. It was the start of something sacred. You weren't broken. You were shedding survival patterns, shedding false identities, shedding a life built on expectations that no longer match who you truly are. This was not collapse. This was your becoming, and every step of this journey proves it. You felt the cracks and stayed conscious. You questioned the stories and listened to truth. You leaned into discomfort and found something unshakable inside. That's what growth looks like. It's not polished, it's not neat. It's raw and real and often invisible to the world. But in the quiet, something has shifted. You now carry wisdom in your gaze. You speak slower, but with substance. You feel more, but with awareness. And you move forward, not because everything's perfect, but because you're finally aligned with what's real. This is your awakening, and it's just the beginning. So here's what I want you to do. Right here, right now, comment below. Not broken. I'm waking up. Let the world know. Let yourself know. Mark this as the moment you stop hiding your becoming. Share your story. Someone else might read your words at 2 a.m. and finally feel seen. Your honesty might be their lifeline. This is how we heal together. Subscribe if you want more reminders that your depth is power. More tools, more philosophy, more truth like this. This isn't just content, this is connection. Because awakening is hard, but it's also holy. So the next time someone asks why you seem different, pause, smile, and remember, you're not falling apart, you're waking up. And that changes everything.